For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning after her final shift, 32-year-old Riley Gutierrez finished her work at the two-lane highway diner. She never clocked out. Despite an immediate and extensive investigation, Riley Gutierrez simply vanished without a trace from the rural eatery, leaving her jacket and car behind. For 3 agonizing years, her family, friends, and the small community lived with paralyzing uncertainty, desperately searching for any sign, any answer, no matter how small. Then 3 years later, during a long-delayed and extensive renovation of the diner itself, an unexpected and chilling discovery was made. Behind a recently installed partition, something had been carefully and deliberately sealed away, hidden from plain sight. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Riley Gutierrez. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Riley Gutierrez, at 32 years old, embodied the quiet dedication often found in the backbone of small-town commerce. For years, she had been a familiar face at the local two-lane highway diner, a place that served as both an eatery and a community hub. As a night shift server, Riley was known for her efficiency, her steady presence, and her unwavering commitment to her job. The diner itself, a beacon for weary travelers and local regulars alike, was currently undergoing a period of renovation, a detail that, at the time, seemed merely a minor inconvenience. The evening of her last known shift unfolded with its usual rhythm. Orders were taken, coffees refilled, and the clatter of plates echoed through the semi-refurbished space. Riley moved with practiced ease between the counter and the booths, her order pad a constant companion. She completed her tasks, served the last customers of the night, and began the routine closing procedures. The final moments of her shift were unremarkable, blending into the countless others she had worked over the years. No one reported anything out of the ordinary, no unusual interactions, no signs of distress. However, the following morning brought an unsettling anomaly. Riley Gutierrez, punctilious in her habits, failed to clock out. Her time card, a small but critical record, remained untagged for departure. This was immediately flagged by the morning staff. Her colleagues and the diner's manager, accustomed to Riley's reliability, noted her absence with growing concern. The diner, when thoroughly checked, offered no explanation. It was empty, the kitchen clean, the dining area undisturbed, yet Riley herself was nowhere to be found. Her car remained in the parking lot, a silent sentinel. The initial concern quickly escalated into a more serious apprehension. For Riley to simply vanish, leaving her vehicle and failing to complete her final work obligation, was entirely out of character. The growing unease among those who knew her best soon prompted a formal notification to authorities. A missing person report was filed, marking the official commencement of an investigation into the sudden and perplexing disappearance of Riley Gutierrez, a waitress who had simply vanished after her night shift. The missing person report triggered an immediate response from local law enforcement. Patrol units were dispatched to the diner, their arrival marking the formal transition from a community concern to a police investigation. The quiet morning atmosphere of the two-lane highway establishment was now punctuated by the presence of uniformed officers, their methodical movements beginning the meticulous process of information gathering. Initial interviews commenced with those who had last seen Riley Gutierrez or possessed knowledge of her routine. The line cook, likely the final colleague to interact with Riley during her shift, was questioned extensively, providing details of her demeanor and any unusual occurrences. Other diner staff, still reeling from the news of her disappearance, offered what insights they could into Riley's work habits, personal life, and any potential conflicts she might have had. The former manager, a figure with a broader perspective on the diner's operations and personnel, also provided statements, attempting to piece together the events leading up to Riley's inexplicable absence. A preliminary search of the diner and its immediate surroundings was conducted. Investigators meticulously scoured the kitchen, dining area, storage rooms, and the perimeter of the building. The ongoing renovation work, however, presented an immediate challenge. Exposed wiring, stacked construction materials, and partially completed walls complicated the scene, making it difficult to discern any potential signs of struggle or forced entry. Despite the thorough initial sweep, no obvious evidence of foul play, such as disturbed furniture or a struggle, was immediately apparent. Riley's car remained in the parking lot, undisturbed, further deepening the mystery. Detectives began to explore various theories. Had Riley, for reasons unknown, simply decided to leave town on her own accord? Was it possible she had been abducted from the parking lot after her shift, a scenario that offered no immediate physical evidence to support it? Without a body, a crime scene, or any concrete leads, the investigation quickly found itself at an impasse. The initial flurry of activity yielded no definitive answers, and the case began to stall. A public appeal for information was subsequently issued, broadcasting Riley's image and details of her disappearance to the wider community. But this effort, too, failed to generate any significant, actionable leads. The silence surrounding Riley Gutierrez's fate remained unbroken. As the initial weeks bled into months, the frantic energy surrounding Riley Gutierrez's disappearance slowly dissipated, replaced by a chilling silence. The posters bearing her smiling image, once ubiquitous in local shop windows, faded under the sun and rain, eventually torn down or forgotten. What began as an urgent missing person investigation gradually transformed into an agonizing waiting game. Weeks turned into seasons, then into years, yet Riley remained gone, a phantom absence that haunted the small community. The two-lane highway diner, once a bustling hub, now carried an unspoken pall. Its renovation, which had been an ongoing backdrop to Riley's last known hours, eventually completed. New tiles covered old surfaces, fresh paint concealed past imperfections, and new fixtures replaced the worn ones. In its transformation, the diner inadvertently erased potential early clues, sealing off any fleeting disturbances that might have existed on the night Riley vanished. The physical space evolved, but the mystery of what transpired within its walls deepened with each passing day. Law enforcement, despite their initial diligence, found themselves at an investigative stalemate. Every lead had been pursued, every witness re-interviewed, every theory explored, yet no tangible evidence emerged to break the deadlock. Without a body, a weapon, or a clear crime scene, the case lacked the foundational elements required for progress. The file on Riley Gutierrez, once a priority, gradually receded into the archives, officially categorized as a cold case. The regular checks, the occasional re-examinations of old statements, became routine rather than breakthroughs. For Riley's family and friends, the passage of time offered no solace, only an intensifying void. They were left to grapple with the profound trauma of an unresolved disappearance, a loved one swallowed by the unknown. The unanswered questions festered, fueling a constant cycle of hope and despair. Was she alive? Was she dead? Who was responsible? The cold case status meant not just a lack of answers, but a perpetuation of the agonizing uncertainty that became their daily reality. A silent torment that stretched on for 3 long years. 3 years had passed since Riley Gutierrez vanished into the night, a period marked by an enduring silence that had long settled over her case. The diner, once a place of everyday routine, now carried the heavy weight of an unresolved mystery. Its renovations long since completed, its facade presenting an image of normalcy that belied the darkness within. It was during a routine inspection, a final check before a change of ownership perhaps, that the diner once again became the focal point of a renewed and horrifying investigation. A renovation foreman, tasked with assessing the structural integrity of various sections, moved through the familiar space. His eyes, trained to spot imperfections and anomalies, paused on a particular tiled partition near what used to be the servers' station. It was a section that had been completed early in the diner's extensive overhaul, ostensibly a fresh surface covering an old wall. There was nothing overtly amiss, yet something about the finish, a subtle unevenness in the grout lines, drew his attention. He ran a hand over the cool, hard tiles, a professional curiosity stirring within him. What followed was a discovery that shattered the 3 years of agonizing uncertainty. As the foreman began a more thorough examination, tapping and listening for hollow spots, a section of the wall yielded with an unexpected fragility. The tiles, carefully placed years prior, began to give way. Behind them, not the expected support structure, but a void, And within that void, a form began to emerge, obscured by dust and shadow. The horrific unveiling revealed Riley Gutierrez. Her body, preserved in the airtight cavity, was found entombed behind the newly tiled partition, a grim testament to a meticulously executed concealment. The sight was chilling, a silent scream frozen in time. In her right hand, clenched even in death, was a grease-smeared order pad, its pages still intact, a final desperate clutch at the mundane tools of her profession. The scene was immediately secured, the foreman's call bringing law enforcement back to the diner, not for a missing person, but for a murder. Investigators, now facing a crime scene 3 years in the making, immediately focused on the partition itself. The foreman's initial observation proved critical. The grout used to seal the tiles, a seemingly innocuous detail, displayed a distinct mismatch in color and texture compared to adjacent sections. Further examination quickly determined this specific batch of grout had been ordered and delivered to the diner the very week Riley Gutierrez disappeared. This seemingly minor construction detail, once an overlooked part of a renovation, now stood as the first tangible clue in a case that had long defied resolution. The discovery of Riley Gutierrez's remains behind the diner wall immediately transformed the seemingly solved cold case into an active murder investigation. The two-lane highway establishment, once a place of mundane commerce, became a meticulously cordoned-off crime scene, its everyday functions suspended as law enforcement descended with renewed urgency. Tape and uniformed personnel now marked the boundaries of a scene that had been hidden in plain sight for 3 years, reigniting a search for answers that had long been dormant. Forensic teams, equipped with specialized tools and protocols, moved into the diner. Their immediate focus was the newly revealed cavity and its grim contents. The body of Riley Gutierrez was subjected to a meticulous examination, both in situ and later at the medical examiner's office, with the primary objective of determining the precise cause and manner of death. Every inch of the tiled partition, the concealed space and the surrounding area was scrutinized for trace evidence: fibers, fingerprints, DNA, anything that could link an individual to the crime. The manner of her entombment suggested premeditation and a deliberate attempt at concealment, pointing to a killer with access and opportunity within the diner's renovation process. The mismatched grout batch, identified by the renovation foreman, quickly became a central piece of the puzzle. Investigators initiated a detailed inquiry into its procurement. Who placed the order for that specific material? When was it delivered to the diner? And who was responsible for its installation? This granular focus on construction logistics was paramount, as the timeline of the grout's appearance directly correlated with the week Riley disappeared. Pinpointing the individuals involved in that particular phase of the renovation became a critical avenue of inquiry. With a body now recovered, the original cast of characters from the missing person investigation were brought back for re-interviews. The renovation foreman, whose keen eye led to the discovery, provided a detailed account of his observations. Any building inspectors who might have overseen the original renovation work were also questioned, their previous reports now scrutinized for overlooked details. The line cook, who likely saw Riley last, and the former manager who oversaw the diner's operations during the initial renovation, faced renewed questioning. Their prior statements, once taken at face value, were now viewed through the chilling lens of murder, each word and omission re-evaluated for potential significance. Crucially, the grease-smeared order pad found clutched in Riley's hand was carefully collected as paramount evidence. Its delicate pages, preserved by the sealed environment, held an unknown but potentially vital narrative. Its contents were carefully documented and sent for forensic analysis, its potential to unlock the motive or identify a perpetrator recognized as immense. The pad, a symbol of Riley's working life, now represented a silent testimony to her final moments. The investigation, revitalized by the grim discovery, gained a significant mechanical advantage from the very tools that had long obscured the truth. The renovation foreman, whose observation led to the body's uncovering, provided critical information regarding the wall's construction. His laser level, a standard instrument for precision, had registered an anomaly during routine checks. This device indicated an unusual void, a hollow column precisely where Riley Gutierrez's body was found. This was not a natural structural element, but a deliberately constructed cavity, engineered specifically for concealment, confirming the premeditated nature of the crime and the killer's intimate knowledge of the diner's renovation plans. Meanwhile, the grease-smeared order pad, retrieved with such care from Riley's hand, underwent meticulous forensic analysis. Its pages, though aged and stained, held a chilling secret. Experts painstakingly separated the carbon copies, revealing beneath the surface of seemingly routine orders a pattern of irregularities. These carbon copies, when cross-referenced with the diner's official sales records, did not match. Instead, they corresponded directly to a series of unpaid tickets, a clear indicator of a systematic backdoor cash skim operation. The revenue had never reached the diner's official accounts. This forensic breakthrough provided the long-elusive motive. Riley Gutierrez had either discovered this illicit financial scheme, perhaps even documenting it in her final moments, or she was involved and threatened exposure. Her disappearance and subsequent murder were no random act. They were a direct consequence of her proximity to this significant financial fraud. The order pad, clutched in her death grip, was not just a symbol of her work, but a silent, damning ledger of her killer's illicit enterprise. The revelation of the cash skim operation dramatically narrowed the scope of the investigation. The suspect pool now focused intensely on individuals who possessed both the means to execute such financial fraud and the opportunity and knowledge to construct a hidden cavity within the diner during its renovation. This included those with access to the diner's financial records, those involved in ordering and installing construction materials, and key personnel who could control or influence the building process. The pieces of the 3-year-old puzzle began to fit together with chilling clarity, pointing towards a perpetrator deeply embedded within the diner's operations. The evidence, painstakingly pieced together over 3 years, now pointed unequivocally towards a single perpetrator: the former manager of the diner, Arthur Finch. Finch, who had overseen the diner's operations during Riley's final shift and the initial phase of the renovation, possessed both the opportunity and the motive. He had access to the financial records, controlled the renovation schedule, and was the one who placed the order for the specific, mismatched grout batch that week. Confronted with the carbon copies from Riley's order pad, which detailed the illicit cash skim, and the forensic evidence of the deliberately constructed cavity, Finch ultimately confessed. He was formally arrested and charged with the murder of Riley Gutierrez. The full tragic story of Riley Gutierrez's final moments could finally be reconstructed. Riley, a diligent server, had inadvertently uncovered Finch's elaborate scheme to skim cash from the diner's daily takings. Her order pad, typically a tool for customer service, had become an unwitting ledger of his deception. On that fateful night, after her shift had concluded, Riley confronted Finch, threatening to expose his fraud. In a desperate act to protect his illicit operation and prevent financial ruin, Finch silenced her. He then utilized the ongoing renovation as a cover, meticulously entombing her body behind a newly tiled partition, creating a cavity designed to conceal his crime indefinitely. The very walls of the diner, meant to be renovated for improvement, became a tomb. The subsequent legal proceedings brought the grim details of Finch's actions into public view. A jury heard the compelling evidence, culminating in a conviction that finally brought a measure of accountability for Riley's brutal death. For the local community, the revelation was a profound shock, transforming the lingering mystery into a horrifying truth. There was sadness for Riley, but also a collective sigh of relief that after 3 agonizing years, the unknown had been replaced by justice. Riley Gutierrez, once a familiar face in a small-town diner, became a symbol of tenacity, even in death. Her final desperate act of clutching the order pad, a silent testament to the very evidence that led to her killer, ensured her story would not remain untold. The journey to uncover the truth had been long and arduous, but the chilling reality of her discovery, holding the key to her own murder, left an indelible mark, reminding all of the persistent pursuit of justice, no matter how long the shadows of deceit may stretch.